Teofimo Lopez goes hard on Terence "Bud" Crawford, downsizing and downplaying his career and resume, stating that all of Terence Crawford's best victories were against injured fighters and shot fighters, and that he never beat any top-level fighter at their best. And hearing all of these insults, Terence Crawford disses Teofimo Lopez. Terence Crawford was asked what he thought about the Teofimo Lopez and Jermaine Ortiz fight, and he did not respond. He just said F Teo. So Terence Crawford dropped the F-bomb. And this is what we are going to be talking about next. But before we get into that, if you guys are not subscribed, please punch and knock out that subscription button. That way you'll never see it again. And ding the notification bell. That way you never miss any of my new boxing videos. Alright guys, let's get to the round. Ding ding. Okay champs, let's get started. As we all know, there was a past interview with Teofimo Lopez, and he stated that all the fighters Terence Crawford has fought were either past their prime, not the same, or injured. And because Terence Crawford looked so good against Errol Spence, he actually beat him in a dominating fashion. Teofimo Lopez stated that Terence Crawford beat the face of boxing, so he's regarding Errol Spence as the face of boxing. And Teo stated that because Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence so easily, now he thinks he can beat Canelo. And he knows that Canelo is declining and he is not the same boxer anymore. He stated Canelo is getting heavier and hefty, that he enjoyed his rise so far, but now he is starting to depreciate. And stated that Canelo is really flat-footed now, and that's why Terence Crawford is trying to jump in to fight Canelo Alvarez. And Teofimo stated that Terence Crawford was scared of Jose Benavidez, and he could not figure out Jose Benavidez till the 5th or 6th round. However, he states Terence Crawford still won and did his thing. But he stated Terence Crawford just likes going after guys that are injured or not the same. And literally, Jose Benavidez got shot in the leg. And Terence Crawford still struggled against Jose Benavidez. And all of these are true statements. So after he talks about Benavidez, he goes after Spence, saying that Spence needed cataract surgery and he actually had an accident and went through a car window. Errol Spence had actually broken his teeth and landed on solid concrete. He also stated that Errol Spence stayed at 147 for too long and he should have moved up in weight a long time ago. Then Teo talks about Kell Brook. He said the same thing with Kell Brook. He needed cataracts, but I do not believe it was the cataracts. It was a broken eye socket, the orbital bone. I believe it was Errol Spence that broke that orbital bone. But I believe Teofimo is confused because Terence Crawford actually broke the other eye. So this one does not count for the eye damage. But what does count is that Kell Brook was from the UK, and that fight took place when nobody was allowed to go out and everybody was locked in. And that particular fight took place in the bubble. It was a time where all the boxing fights had no audiences. But Kell Brook stated that he had a half a camp and he could not set up a proper camp right here in the States. And he could not get his original trainer. So Kell Brook was not well prepared for this fight. So Teo states, because all of this, you think you're a tough guy, but you are not a tough guy. You fight soft guys that act tough, so it makes you look like a tough guy. Okay champs, all these statements are 100% true. And Terence Crawford's biggest victory, it is against Errol Spence. But on Terence Crawford's defense, for the Errol Spence fight, we had no idea that Errol Spence was gonna look so terrible. We all thought Terence Crawford was going to face a Errol Spence that was on top of his game and was still training and competing at the highest level. Even though we all know Errol Spence had already 2 car accidents. But the reason we all thought Errol Spence was still on top of his game is because after the car accidents, he beat the living ish out of Danny Garcia and Ugas. So we expected a healthy Errol Spence to face Terence Crawford, but this is not Terence Crawford's fault. And there was no way Terence Crawford could have known that Errol Spence needed cataract surgery. even though we all knew about that car accidents. But those car accidents did not seem like it affected Errol Spence against the performance versus Ugas and Danny Garcia. And just today, in an interview with Fight Hub, Teofimo Lopez states that he is planning to beat Jermaine Ortiz like Mortal Kombat Flawless Victory. And after he beats Jermaine Ortiz, he wants to go right after Terence Crawford because he wants to fight nothing but the best. And he also stated that Terence Crawford wants to fight Canelo, but Canelo is actually 3 weight classes above from Terence Crawford. And he says he is only 1 weight class away from Terence Crawford, and that is a more realistic, ideal fight for both of them. He also says he knows Terence Crawford is a man with a lot of pride, and a man with a lot of pride will bite more than the bullet. He will bite the whole entire gun. Teo also says, I am not saying all of this just to sell the Ortiz fight. And he also adds, I know Crawford will want a lot of money to fight me, but he hopes this fight will happen in Saudi Arabia where Turki Al-Ashi. And if that doesn't happen, he knows a good investor that he's going to convince them that this fight will make a lot of money. And if they invest in Teofimo and Terence, they will make the fight here in America. Yes, Teofimo is correct. I believe this fight will make a lot of money. I will definitely buy this fight. And they can charge this fight for the $84.99 standard price for mega fights. I believe that is the highest price I've seen for any fight here in America. For any mega showdown, it's always $84.99, but it can always go up. And both of these guys are trash talkers, and Terence Crawford already doesn't like Teofimo Lopez because Terence Crawford was asked, what do you think about Teo on this fight against Jermaine Ortiz? And Terence Crawford did not say much. He goes, man, F Teofimo. And Terence Crawford did not say anything else. He just walked away. I do not think Teofimo Lopez is bluffing about fighting Terence Crawford. If there is a boxer who wants all the smoke with the best boxers and fights for nothing but legacy, it's Teofimo Lopez. This guy is truly the definition of a throwback fighter, and he is actually my favorite fighter from all of them. I was actually Teofimo Lopez for Halloween last year. I was Teo when he was at the Josh Taylor press conference when he looked like Scarface. I obviously got the body for it. I also believe Teofimo Lopez is the first undisputed 2-time world champion, and Terence Crawford is the second. So they could build this fight as a 2-time undisputed versus 2-time undisputed. It sounds better than Canelo versus Charlo, undisputed versus undisputed. Just hearing that 2-time undisputed versus 2-time undisputed, that will sell. Hope this fight does happen, and if it does, who do you guys have, Teofimo Lopez or Terence Bud Crawford? I think it's going to be a close fight, and either one can take it, and whoever wins will probably be by split decision. Comment below and I'll write to everyone back. If you guys like the show, subscribe, like the video, share the video, and that's it for me, champs. I gotta roll.